Hey, you see this video? Yeah, I made this video. And in this video, I reached the conclusion that Technoblade never dies because he just chooses not to. Because he can't, not when everyone is counting on him. His friends, his family, his audience. Everyone expects nothing but the best from the Blood God because the Blood God expects nothing but the best from himself. And so he perseveres, pushing himself past his limits time and time again, his work ethic teetering on the verge of genuine insanity at times, his resolve always unwavering, unbreakable, absolute, because Technoblade never dies. Technoblade Never Dies was my second ever upload. At the time, my channel was still young, barely in its infancy, and I was still young too, with less than 100 subscribers to my name. At the time, I figured that even if my content did take off someday, my earliest videos would inevitably be forgotten, left by the wayside if I ever found some sudden influx of popularity. Today, Technoblade Never Dies is the most popular video on my channel, with a whopping 1.3 million views. When I first uploaded my tribute to Technoblade, I didn't even think anyone was going to watch it, because at the time, no one was watching. Then again, you'd never really expect to be where you ended up. I know for a fact that's true for me, and it's probably true for Technoblade too, because Technoblade never dies. And when Techno sat down in front of his PC and booted up the pixelated world of Minecraft for the very first time, I don't think he expected to be where he ended up today. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I know why Technoblade never dies, but to become an immortal icon of Minecraft content creation, to become undying, Techno first had to reject his own humanity. Nothing can be gained without the sacrifice of something equal in return. And to become the pig, the god of blood, Techno could no longer be just a man. He gave up on being the person he was before to become the brand he is today. Stoic, silent, aloof, he who treads with cloven hooves. I know why Technoblade never dies. Technoblade never dies because he's sustained by sacrifice, and sacrifice alone, by his own sacrifice, constantly giving up more and more of himself to appease the demands of the unwashed masses that clamor constantly for content. Techno, to this day, is still a reluctant soldier and a regretful conqueror, chained to the shackles of reputation, expectation, and responsibility that he himself forged so long ago, with the heaviest of hearts, burdened with the weight of his world. And yet, in spite of these chains, he carries on, struggling against them valiantly, even though he's long since forgotten what he's fighting for. All he knows now is a single phrase that keeps him going through it all, the epitome of who he is, the source of all his power, and the secret to his ever-formidable resolve. Blood for the Blood God. I know why Technoblade never dies. Technoblade never dies because of the blood that's been shed on the Blood God's behalf, but that blood is almost always his own. And that, to me, is the tragedy of Technoblade. God. It all started with the Bed Wars win streak. Techno won 1,400 games in a row, dominating every opponent that stood in the way of victory on the Hypixel server. And he was untouchable, and that's a hard thing to be. Even though he had started on the server as a casual player, with Techno's track record of success came a newfound pressure to perform, to keep winning, to retain his crown, no matter the cost. But the pressure of the win streak went unnoticed by many. People just assumed that Techno would keep winning, because of course he would. After all, he was a god. Watching Techno decimate endless hordes of enemies was fun. The bloodshed was entertaining, it was entertainment, and the crowds of the virtual Colosseum were ravenous for more. Blood for the Blood God, we cried. So when Techno willingly gave up the win streak of his own volition, trying to reduce the pressure it placed on him to play the game at an unnaturally competitive level, he had no idea that his decision would only serve to cement the impression that if he hadn't relinquished his title, his reign as conqueror in the War of Beds would have been eternal. But even after throwing away his Bed Wars win streak, the pressure only grew. At first, it was Minecraft Mondays. Despite the poor organization of Killer Keemstar's weekly Minecraft tournament, Technoblade still went on to win a total of 4 times and dominate the individual leaderboards every time he set his mind to the task at hand. Teaming with Technoblade was just assumed to be an automatic win because, of course it was, and after all, he was a god. Nobody seemed to notice how much training, how much effort, how many hours Techno put in behind the scenes to become what he was, to develop his skill. They only saw the finished product, the results, and assumed automatically that his hegemony over the block game was unquestionable. Blood for the Blood God, the people chanted, calling for more. And when Minecraft Mondays went belly up, it didn't stop there either. Next, it was Minecraft Championships, and when Techno joined the event, the bloodlust of those in the Decision Dome only grew. People assumed that the name of Technoblade would once more strike fear into the hearts of battle-hardened MCC veterans and inexperienced rookies alike. Because of course it would. After all, he was a god, never mind how he'd become one in the first place. Blood for the Blood God, we roared. It didn't stop there, either. It hasn't stopped yet. Even now, the pressure only grows. In the Great Potato War, in the Duel with Dream, even on the Dream SMP, where every event is meticulously planned weeks in advance, we still clamor for more, frothing at the mouth, demanding he kill simply because it was what we expected of him. Techno might be a god now, but it was we, the audience, who made him into one. It was our bloodlust that fed him, our cries that made him immortal. It was our expectations he was and still is beholden to, and he has no choice but to live up to them now. So he did. During the Great Potato War, he spent 12 hours a day farming for 8 straight months, strategizing non-stop. For the Duel with Dream, he mastered a brand new version of the video game in a matter of days. And on the Dream SMP, he spent countless hours agonizing over his character and the storyline he was tasked with writing, weaving in countless allusions to ancient Greek mythology to enrich the narrative as best he could. His uploads were few and far between because as a god, if he was going to succumb to the surface pressure and upload another video, it had to live up to his audience's expectations, no matter what. Otherwise, for Techno, the consequences could be catastrophic. And every time Technoblade faced some new trial, some new tribulation, we were there, the audience, a million unblinking eyes hovering just ever so slightly behind him, always watching, all seeing. Blood for the Blood God, we demanded in unison. It became a mantra, a call to arms, no longer just a joke, but a command issued by the faceless hordes in the throng, a siren song that Technoblade was powerless to resist, because, after all, it was we, the sirens, who gave him his power in the first place. We demanded that he commit incredible acts of pixelated violence in exchange for our undying loyalty, and he obliged, because if he didn't, then he would succumb to the very pressure we had put him under in the first place. Technoblade was the first of a new era of Minecraft content creators to be held to an unhealthy standard of perfection, a standard that they strive to meet no matter what, because if they didn't, then to their audiences they felt worthless. Their worth was non-existent, independent from what their audiences demanded of them. And though this particular phenomenon has become increasingly worrisome and increasingly common in tandem, the person who's always suffered under it the most has been Technoblade. Techno has been consistently, silently suffering under it this entire time. Because to me, that is the tragedy of Technoblade. Hey, you see this video? Yeah, I made this video. And when I made it, I didn't think anyone would ever see it because at the time, no one was watching. At the time, I was editing my videos on our outdated Stone Age relic of a family computer that could only handle the bare minimum requirements for Windows Movie Maker. As such, all of my videos exported in 480p by default, and there was nothing I could do about it. I was never really a very techie kind of guy, and I didn't know how to fix it, but to me, that was okay. The actual video itself wasn't nearly as important as what I was saying in it. I was just trying to make whatever content I could and whatever content I wanted to make, in spite of my limitations. I was just doing it for fun, and I didn't think anyone was watching. For a while, no one was. And then, one day, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, my Technoblade video just exploded. My channel was getting an almost incomprehensible amount of attention, with so many comments pouring in every day that I just felt overwhelmed. And of those comments, the most common, by far, were those about the quality of the picture. Innumerable hordes would just comment 480p and nothing more, leaving it at that. I was frustrated. The quality of my videos was poor. Sure, I knew that, but I always believed that the quality of my words was still capable of shining through regardless. But every day I was proven wrong by hundreds of identical comments, all stating nothing more than the quality of the video over and over and over again, as if to remind me of something that I was already very much intimately aware of. They just comment 480p as if that was all they needed to say, as if that one singular fact was enough to undermine all of my effort, as if they didn't even need to watch the video at all. They could just dismissively laugh me off, discard my hard work with their airs of condescension because, hey, it's only 480p, right? What does that even mean? It was stupid and insignificant, and compared to everything else in the world and everything everyone else has gone through, it feels almost worthless in how pedantic it is. But at the time, those comments really got to me, and That's part of the reason why I stepped away from YouTube in the first place. I'm not saying, by any stretch of anyone's imagination, that what I went through is in any way equivalent to the kind of pressure that Techno's under. But that kind of pressure really gets to you. It was worse for Techno, and it got to Techno too. Technoblade has cancer. He was going to have his arm amputated, and despite that, despite the very real trauma he'd endured, he still felt pressure to just laugh it off, because as the Blood God, that was what everyone expected of him. Even now, that's the kind of pressure he still feels like he's under. Even now, that's the reputation he still feels he has to live up to. Stoic, self-deprecating, the god of blood. I really don't think I need to say anything more than that, because that, right there, that is the tragedy of Technoblade. In the end, there's no blood for the Blood God, because it's always been Techno sacrificing for us, never the other way around. He sheds his blood while we stand high and dry. He makes the content, and all we do is consume it. Technoblade is but a man forced to live up to the lofty expectations of his audience, because if he doesn't, he's afraid they'll abandon him. Blood for the Blood God. That's the tragedy of Technoblade. French philosopher Albert Camus argued that life itself is absurd and entirely without hope, a never-ending onslaught of senseless suffering brought on by the original sin of our birth into this, a random, uncaring universe as cold as the ground in which we will someday be interred. Yet upon coming to the conclusion that the pain of his existence was entirely without meaning, Camus does not dwell in despair. Rather, he argues that one should embrace the absurdity of our suffering, as suffering is synonymous with life itself. If there is no meaning, no purpose to be found in life, no greater, higher power, then one must find their own purpose and make their pain mean something to them. Camus then thinks of Sisyphus, the ancient Greek legend of the man cursed to roll a boulder up a hill for all of eternity, only to fall just short every time. Every time, without fail, the boulder rolls back down the hill before it reaches the top, and Sisyphus reluctantly trudges after it. It is in this moment, Camus argues, that Sisyphus becomes aware of his condition, of the tragedy of his life, and yet, it is in this moment that Sisyphus is resigned to accept his fate, suffering and all. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Now, granted, that summary of absurdism is both highly reductionist and far too optimistic for the taste of a true absurdist like Camus, but then again, I'm not an absurdist. Nor am I a philosopher, come to think of it. Not really. But I do believe in the idea of finding meaning for oneself, in broader strokes, of finding meaning in one's suffering, and I think Techno does too. Being a content creator, being Technoblade means sacrificing your humanity for the sake of entertainment, submitting yourself to tremendous amounts of pressure and accepting that pressure head-on, or whole hog, as it were in Techno's particular case. Technoblade's audience formed an impression of him that he had no choice but to live up to. But that's not entirely true. He doesn't have to do this. He could just give up. He could quit. But that's not an acceptable outcome for him, because in spite of the pressure, he just keeps going. Even when he loses, or fails, or falls just short, he dusts himself off and gets back up again. He puts in the time and puts forth the effort, and even if no one ever sees the sacrifices he's made to get to where he is today, he keeps going anyway. He might still be reluctant in accepting his fate, but he's accepted it all the same. Technoblade is a tragic figure, true, I said that much at the start. But in that tragedy, he's found meaning, and he's made that tragedy meaningful for the rest of us too. Because he chose this. Techno isn't human. He's not just human, not anymore. He's no ordinary man. No, because he's a pig, and a bona fide blood god at that, and he is those things because he chooses to be them. He might never have expected to be where he ended up, but he's here now, and he's determined to make the most of it. He sheds his own blood, sacrifices everything he can to maintain his image, his status as a deity, and in turn, that sacrifice gives him the strength to keep going. Like Atlas, with the weight of the world on his shoulders, or Sisyphus, bound to his boulder, Techno soldiers on with a brave face, always carrying with him the weight of his world, the expectations of his friends, his family, and his audience. When we cried out for blood, he took the expectation-laden moniker of Blood God and made it his own, accepting the pressure that came with it unconditionally. And he carries on still, always moving forward, pushing the weight of those expectations up the hill over and over again, resolved to never give up and never give in. He is the blood god, and in accepting the pressure of his audience, he has risen above it because he holds himself to that higher standard too. In the acceptance of his fate, it ceases to become tragic, and that has made all the difference. Techno gave up his humanity to become the blood god, but becoming the blood god made him more than human. He stands for something greater than himself now, a spirit of pure resolve, the gilded crown upon his head and the blood upon his hooves, an eternal symbol of his dedication and the sheer strength of his will. The fact that he suffered through so much and still kept going is what makes Technoblade a hero, and the heroism of his character, that strong, stoic, silent desire to persevere no matter what, is what's made him immortal. Because he's a hero. He's a hero to me. That's why Technoblade never dies. And that is the tragedy, nay, the triumph of Technoblade. Thank you all for watching. Tune back in next week on Monday, March 14th at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time for my final Minecraft video. I'm Frostbite Freeman, and until next time, stay frosty.